gods, grand rise, gods and goddesses, kings, queens, titans, celestials, adepts, initiates, shamans, healers. Today is the day of 10, or the day of how we shape ourselves into going into the day of Venus, which is the day of loving ourselves, that reverence, that freedom of our love to ourselves. As I was sitting at the gym, I was thinking about growth. I remember looking at this picture or this meme I saw. It was like, growth is silence. And then I was like, so what does that make? Struggle. That would make, if growth is silent, that means while you sitting there in that space with that thought, sitting in that silence, what thoughts grow in your mind silently? What things grow in your mind silently? As opposed to what you project based on the struggle is what is loud. When I think about potential, I know potential is in the darkness. I know the power of my potential is in the things that I have not yet done. I know my power in my potential is in the things that I have not done yet. That's where all my energy is. Everything else has already been defined. So when it comes to the aspects of growth, connecting to ourselves, wanting in this case, or rather desiring more quality in yourself. To desire to build the worth in yourself, that value in yourself, and going through these processes, that's the growth. In the growth is our silence. In the growth is the most silent moment, because what I just said, sitting there in your thoughts, you sit there silently. What are you thinking about? How are you growing in your thoughts? Is your mind controlling you, or are you in control of your mind? These are things that I ask myself all the time, no matter where I'm at. It's become the defense mechanism for my new self going forward. Whenever I'm in an overwhelming state, whenever I'm in that overwhelm or everything is not going according to plan, I sit there with that thought. Is like, am I in control of my mind, or is my mind taking over control of me? Is this a part of the greatest critic that was me? My greatest critic? My broken aspects of myself? Or is this the real part of me actually wanting to go forward? It gives me a self-realization check for my energy. It lets me understand when I'm expressing myself, if I'm expressing based on I'm wanting that growth and being able to sit there with the response that comes back to it, or am I doing the, as I said, I spoke on yesterday, the aspects of projection, where I'm projecting from a centralized thought in my mindset, and everything is filtered through this one lens, this one space, as opposed to if I'm expressing, I'm becoming more open and more honest into this. I'm becoming more open and more vulnerable to whatever's in that space. In your growth being silent, when this is where you're able to see the energy leaks. This is where you're able to see exactly what you need to work on. This is where you're able to set your boundaries. This is where you're able to set your parameters. This is where you're able to allow yourself to go forward. Allow yourself to actually take that moment to yourself in thought and really bring yourself into that process of trusting their processes. Whenever we think about struggle and struggle being loud, oppression being loud, it's more of a projection. This, and this is why this. It's surface. I remember my first time actually going into actually even my first meditation. And one of the things I struggled with was actually sitting still. And I would get to the point of feeling my body get lucid or like begin to fall into the groove. But then something would always come in. One of those voices would come in and knock me off of my shit. I'd be like, oh shit, nigga, I gotta do this, or I gotta go to work. And then I gotta go to work, or I can't really be thinking about this right now because my relationship is horrible or whatever. All these little things would come up in my mind to this thought process when I first started my meditations. Until I was like, wait, what part of me, until coming into that space for my growth, understanding that growth is silence, that was one of the ways that I actually started visualizing which voice was telling me what. Was it my voice of struggle, which would be loud, or that projection of one of my characters of myself? Or was it actually my soul leading me to myself? My soul leading me to another piece of my soul, because tomorrow we're going to get into the aspects of the fractured soul. But when you're sitting in that space and you're thinking about where you're at, what you're doing, as opposed to like right now I'm doing a fast for 20 days. Everything I've done up to this moment prepared me for this 20 days for myself. I've spoken on it before. My first fast taught me my first fast taught me how to, broke me down. My second fast taught me taught me based on what I could sustain, what I needed to truly sustain. And this fast is just going to be a nice clearing out. I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work ever since celebrating COVID-19. I've done a lot of work since then. I've done a lot of growing since then. I've done a lot of aspects in that space since then. Now it's time for me to actually, and it just falls in line. It falls in line with my last day of my fast would be December 21st. And everybody's talking about, oh, it's December 21st. December 21st is whatever you make it. Just like every moon ritual is whatever you make it. However you program into that space, as long as you have built the reinforcement into it. So for me, by December 21st, I'm going to be pretty empty. I'm going to be pretty, my clarity is going to be different. My energy is going to be different. My energy is already different. But I'm going to be in a different space that's going to match where I'm at in that space. Cleansing myself out, water. The only thing that I'm actually going to have is Monday through Thursday is my smoothie. After my workout to maintain that elevation of the natural sugars in my body. But other than that, it's just going to be that. This is going to give me time to really work on certain aspects that I'm working on. Just in the business aspect, but also in the personal aspect for myself. Giving myself time to recharge, giving myself time to refocus, recenter, giving myself this time, this period of time that we sometimes become afraid to take with ourselves because we're not used to the challenge of actually allowing ourselves to grow. But everything else based on that's outside of us that can help us stray us away from our process. With all these things outside of us that can stray us away from our process of getting in tune with ourselves. Being in that balance being in that balance with ourselves. Being able to assess connections and attachments. Me being in this space of depleting myself of all the toxins that are in my body in that technical sense will give me a chance to rebuild and recalibrate myself to when I'm sitting in a new position, I'm able to see it and be in you're in an overall better position. That's your growth. Your growth is going to be able to help you check out those leaks. Check out the creaky floorboards. Check out the creakiness that's going, the leaks that are within, the leaks that are going out, how your energy is going out. It's going to help you address how you allow your energy to be used. It's going to adjust it's going to adjust all of these things. That's your growth. When you're stuck in a mindset of struggle, I think about Paid in Full, the end of Paid in Full, the movie, when it went from, there was actually work, there was actually connections in that aspect, to now all you had to do is put on the chain and hold a stack of money and throw it down at a camera screen, and now you looked the part, because struggle is loud. If I don't go through the processes of cultivating myself, then struggle will always seem loud to me. Even in the second and the third phases of me going through my meditation, where I think I talked about it yesterday. Yeah, I talked about it yesterday. When I was sitting in that space and damn near not having anything, being in that space. Even at that moment in time, that was a moment for me to go back and be like, what did that show me? I went from literally walking around had a big ass, like, this was like 4 years ago, had a big ass basket with my shoes in it, bags of clothes, and I wasn't wearing or using these anywhere. They no longer serve the purpose, but I kept it near me, because that was in reality my perception of myself. And I made up all types of dumbass reasons to keep that shit in my life. Man, I can use this whenever it's cold outside. I can put on the extra pair of pants and do this, and this. I would make up all these different reasons just to keep myself to keep myself struggling. I would make up all of these reasons to keep myself struggling. And since I was making up all these outside reasons of why I was struggling, I never could get to the real reason of why I couldn't sit still, why I was always on edge, why I could never have a conversation that could build. My conversations were based on me projecting something, projecting my hurt, projecting the things that were of myself through these aspects that I already built in front of me. My responsibility to that aspect. This is when you're coming into your aspects of growth. Before you grab the books, before you grab anything, because everything is always going to lead you back to your shadow work. That's one of the things that I had to come to learn. Like, everything that you're going to do is going to always lead you back to your shadow work. Everything that you do is going to lead you right back to, I keep going past this same damn marker. I might as well do the work. The only thing that can stop you in that aspect is you. The things that we sometimes allow ourselves to become used to having, this is where that thought process of, I don't want to deprive myself of anything. For 20 days, I'm depriving myself of food. If this is my first fast, I'd be sitting here this entire time being like, I cannot let go of chicken wings. I cannot let go of pizza. I cannot let go of this. My second fast, I was like, I can't let go of shrimp, because I was just transitioning from vegetarian and pescatarian/vegetarian to becoming full vegan. Now I'm in this space, plant-based in my space. It's like, I can go without that. I can, let me see what I can do with that energy. Let me redefine this energy before I bring it back into that space. That's your growth. In that silent moment while you're sitting there and when you're thinking about the struggle or thinking about these moments, remember, every time that you're thinking, you're listening. What are you listening to? Every time that you're thinking, you're actually listening. What voice inside of you are you listening to? The broken one that stays in the corner, or one of the other 16, 17 personalities that you created? Which one are you listening to? I want you to take this in day of 10 and mold yourself to become great. because that's all the aspect of growth. Growth begets growth. Growth. Because what happens is one big thing about struggle being loud and growth giving you a time to actually cultivate and groom yourself. You can have leaks within yourself of your energy, and you've been leaking your energy out for so long, not realizing it. You have these creaks in your energy for so long. When your energy leaves out from you and it pours, remember, naturally it goes down. That energy naturally goes down into another space to bring it into balance. Because it's going to fill up this space so it can bring it into that buoyant balance. So if I'm sitting I remember sitting in a position, and I remember when I was at a low point, and the only thing that I could feel, or I was filling up, were other people's, like whenever I was around other individuals, other people who were around me at those points of time, the only thing I was filling up is those cups that were below mine. So we always seemed like we were always on the same level. That's because your energy naturally pours to fill up these spaces to bring you into, to keep you within balance based on your decisions, based on your thoughts. So if my default was struggle, and then I'm filling up my mindset based on struggle, everything that I feel around me is on struggle. Now that my mindset is in growth, everything around me is based upon growth. Whether it's in the future tense, whether it's in that future tense, that means it's coming into the spectrum, or it's a part of my past. Everything in my past was about growth. Now, I understand it was the aspect of growth. Everything in my future tense is in the aspect of growth, because I'm in that mindset of now and growth. This doesn't mean that when you're going through the things that you're going to be going through, worrying about this, worrying about that, worrying about these things, that those things are not going to come up. Your key is not to put your focus on those things, to trust your process. This is how you groom and learn to trust yourself. This is your growth. Growth is not going to be beautiful. You got to go through the ugly phase. You got to allow yourself to go through the ugly phase. Can't hide from the ugly phase. Let it show. Let that shit show. Because it's going to show you the true aspects and the strength of you. It's going to show you exactly what it is you need to do next. That's how that shadow works. I want you to be the fucking best. God Hour Podcast. This week's episode is Wounded Illusion. All this week we've been getting into the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine and the healing processes and the different streams of what it looks like. This is one of the other streams. Growth is in the aspects of the healed, and struggle is in the aspects of the wounded. So think about those, that they expand past those points. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, God Hour, I always say God Hour after I say God Alchemist YouTube channel. We're getting into the manifesto of the unconscious focus. Getting deeper into the aspect of who was the first person that told you, who was the first person that hurt you or harmed you was actually your parents, so that parent energy. And what was one of the things that I'm going to leave it on that. What was the one thing that they always said? It's going to give you, it builds character, it builds character, it builds character, it builds character. You got told it was going to build character over and over and over and over again. It's going to shape you. Here's the thought process. If I'm unconsciously creating shit, if I'm a creator and I don't know I'm a creator, then I'm going to use all of the energy that was given to me to create different characters. So now, to bring ourselves, we focused on this character being the way for me to get this character being the way for me to get this. So now you split your energy off. Until you bring your energy into unison, you can't control what the hell you get to create. Or, you can't tap into the intimate power of your actual creation. But we're going to get into that on Friday. Interested in services from the readings to the consultations, the shadow work consultation, readings, and any other services, inbox me or hit me at GodaCoalchemistLLC.com. Be the best. Take this day and shape it. Every day is what you are to shape it as. All I require is the ability to grow through all that I desire. I love you. We love us. Ashe.